Okay, part two, guys. It's 3:13 in the morning, West Coast time. It's still the 9th of December, 2023, the Weaver Giant City, Roseman, California. Okay, so what I was trying to talk about in the earlier video was what was happening. A woman in Texas had been trying to get an emergency abortion because the kid's going to be born incomplete, genetic issues left and right. There was no way that she was going to be able to live through it, but the doctors are trying to find ways of saving her life. In order to do that, she needs to have an emergency abortion. But the problem is with the emergency abortion, they had to find extraordinary circumstances for her to have this thing. And unfortunately, with the Texas laws being so damn conservative, they didn't define, except maybe for loss of life. That's about it. But kids got to be born. Hell with a damn mother. The kid's got to be born. Doesn't matter if the woman dies or not. So this is the issue. Woman's life versus the kids. Choose the kid. Choose the kid. Screw the woman. Even if the baby comes born dead, couldn't live outside the womb. No, they'll say, no, it's God's will. It's God's will. Therefore, throw the people in jail. Humiliate them. Crucify them. Yeah, welcome to your conservative. Welcome to the conservatives. More control over people left and right. More elitism at this point. Oh, but we're trying to save lives. Bullshit. But you're aborting kids. If the kids are coming out and they're not going to be viable after they're outside a woman's womb, what are you going to do? But they're alive for a few seconds. But they're alive for a few seconds. You don't get it. And the woman died. Well, who cares about her? I was trying to make a distinction when I was doing that other video. I hadn't thought about it. I tried not to think about it. I was trying not to get weighed into the situation. But hell, hearing this particular case, yeah, it still made me question whether or not if my mother made the right choice or not. Ah, choice. Texas, you don't get a choice. But people will flock into Texas for what reason? If you're conservative, that's one thing. Be a closet case. But if you're not, don't go over there if you're liberal. My God. They'll legislate you out of existence. And this is what makes things harder to deal with. This has got a problem, doesn't it? Texas is going to legislate people out of existence left and right just to conserve some bullshit. I said it. Anyway, I'm still waiting for the orders to come in. I'm going to put this on pause right now. There should have, there's going to be commercials on this thing, so let me turn this thing down. This morning, I didn't realize that this one is going to be affecting me a great deal, and then I'm hearing about a couple of years back in Massachusetts, actually in the Michigan, there was a kid killing adults and kids there because something was wrong with him. He'd just gotten through the sentencing phase. This kid is going to go through a great deal of thinking what the hell he did. He was judged to be mentally competent to understand what was going on. and therefore sentenced to life without parole for killing 4 students at a Michigan school and injuring a lot of people. And yesterday, the parents and the survivors gave this guy what for, but he didn't react. There was no indication that he reacted. They say there's going to set a precedent on this one because there's lawsuits going after the parents now, and the parents are going to have to individually defend themselves in court. They got the kid a gun, and they knew that he was mentally unstable, and he went nuts. People have kept screaming that we needed to have laws on this one to find who's mentally stable and who's not. In order to do that, to break personal information, you have to check each individual. Man, I did videos on this one concerning about HIPAA being torn apart because now we have to find out which individual is mentally stable or not to have weapons. That's going to be another one to do later on, or redo a video on that one. But I was talking about the earlier on in this video and previous video about this one woman struggling for survival in Texas. My brother had a great affinity for Texas. He was born in Texas, therefore he thought Texas and him were one. He always kept saying, and I'll probably get the quote screwed up on this one, you can take the boy out of Texas, but you can't take the Texas out of the boy. And he was damn proud of his state. But he didn't like the politics happening. He didn't like the conservative crap happening. He didn't like the closed-minded, I'm going to say it because this is judgmental, backward-ass thinking. Also to quote my brother on that one. He could use a lot worse on that one than the words. I'm still waiting right now for the CNN story to come up. They're getting past the commercials right now. But this is a precedent in my head because this is still challenging what I think and what I feel about abortions. I tried to stay out of this topic. I really did. Because I didn't think it would affect me one way or another. But until I started thinking back on this one, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's affecting me. It's affecting me to the point where I'm thinking, what would Mom have done if we had the technology and the know-how back then in the 60s? Would she have decided to keep me or not? And that's the thing. In California, they still had the choice. The choice was never taken out of people. It was never taken out of the hands of anybody. So she had the choice. But if I was born in Texas, and if they were that conservative back then, maybe I wouldn't have been born. Or maybe I would have been born, but Ma would have been dead. I don't know. All I know is Ma was alive when I was born, and I lived with her all my life until she passed away. And I was a caregiver. At least one of them anyway. So that would not have been a problem. But the problem that we have today, that we're facing today, the choices are taken out of the women's hands left and right in different states. They don't have a choice for life. If they're going to choose their life over an infant that's going to be threatening their lives, it's going to get even worse. I'm still watching CNN right now. That's why my attention is not on the camera. It's just over here. They probably would be asking me, what's your opinion about this one? Women should have a choice. Women should have a choice in this situation. even if it means supporting a healthy fetus. As disconcerting as that is, yeah, the kid should have been born, but if the kid's going to be a detriment to the woman, if the newborn is going to be born dead, then why have him in the first place if it's been genetically tested? There had been insults thrown on this one, saying that women are getting abortions after the kid's been born. Well, that's basically murder as it's being reinterpreted at that point. I believe a woman should have a choice. I know it's what my mother would have thought. But the thing is, we hadn't talked about this all my life. We hadn't gone into the situation. I think we both had the mutual understanding of each other that the choice was there. But we seriously did not have any opportunities or took the opportunities necessary to talk about this. Because we didn't have anything to bring this thing up to tell us about it. I'm waiting until CNN comes back so I can get this on record of what happened. One more thing. Tennis star Chris Everett for a long time ago. She's got to be dealing with cancer again. 68 years old. Previously diagnosed with stage 1 ovarian cancer back in January 22. She completed therapy, chemo, back in 2022. But she can't join the Olympic ceremonies or the reporting of it because she's going to be dealing with cancer. It came back with a vengeance. Oh, yeah, we're dealing with it today, aren't we? Okay, you want to try the international stuff? Yesterday, or the day before yesterday, that the UN held council, they're holding a vote in the Security Council, and the United States vetoed this measure of having a ceasefire happen between Hamas and Israel, just so the relief workers can get in there and start doing more work in there to help secure the area, to stabilize the region. And unfortunately, U.S. and its blind as hell viewpoints, and yeah, I'm saying this, they want the war to continue. They kept saying they're going to be supporting Israel on all the stand, and they want Hamas eliminated by causing more issues. The United States is earning more and more enemies at this point over here than they realize. They want to make sure that they keep friendship with Israel at this point over here for the stability of the Middle East. Middle East wants to kill them all. They still want to kill them all. So there's anti-Semitism going on, but they don't get it with this relief. They don't want to get it with the relief. They just don't want it. They'd rather see the suffering go. That's what I'm saying right now. They'd rather see the suffering. This pisses me off. But they want to see it. They want to see the mass murder. They'll blame Hamas for the damn stuff, but they'll want to see the instability going on. These guys are so clusterfuck in the administration right now. And I'm saying about Biden right now. He's not going to get into another term. I'm a Democrat, and I'm already seeing this damn thing. But I'm not setting Trump up for a win either. I don't suppose he actually understood what the hell was going on, Biden. Hamas was dangerous because we still had that control happening. Palestinians were still having the issue. They still hadn't learned the lessons of history at this point. We were in Vietnam back in the 60s, and we didn't understand what the fuck was going on then. But we didn't listen and learn. Each war tells us something. Each war teaches us something. Certain aspects of it. The Vietnamese people, for decades or almost centuries, have fought to keep their country the way they wanted it, but they always had foreign influence coming in, one way or another, dominating their country. All they wanted to be was left in peace and deal with what they wanted to deal with. But no, we had to have administrations coming in there, and then we had to go in there in the 60s. We didn't realize that they were fighting for the survival of their country. Maybe some of them wanted the communist version of their country, and the others wanted democracy. We were so damn afraid of it, of the Red Scare like crazy. We didn't want communism knocking on our door. We didn't want communism, period. We want democracy for everybody. We want capitalism. We want. And I'll screw things up left and right. People probably think I am. Hold on. Let's get this one on record. This morning, more attacks along the Gaza Strip. Gaza Health Ministry reports at least 71 people killed and 160 hospitalized after Israeli airstrikes.
Meanwhile, the United States is under scrutiny for vetoing a UN ceasefire resolution. CNN's senior international correspondent Ivan Watson is live in Beirut. Hello, Ivan. Tell us more about Israel's ambassador expressing gratitude toward the U.S. for its veto and the global reaction.
Right. Well, Israel, its ambassador, thanked the U.S. for its support. Basically, the U.S. was the only member of the Security Council to vote against a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. So it's a failure to stop the fighting through diplomatic means at the UN Security Council. And this has revealed the growing isolation of both Israel and its closest ally, the U.S., because 13 other members of the Security Council voted in favor of calling for a stop to the fighting. And it also has created this unusual situation where you had Russia, for example, on the same page as some of the world's largest human rights organizations, all aligned in criticizing the U.S. veto for a ceasefire in Gaza. The U.S. representative, he argued that putting a stop to the fighting would be, in his words, dangerous because it would allow Hamas to regroup and perhaps one day again attack Israel as it did on October 7th. The criticism of the U.S. veto was led by the Palestinians. Take a listen to the Palestinian ambassador to the UN.
Instead of allowing this council to uphold its mandate by finally making a clear call after 2 months of massacres that the atrocities must end, the war criminals are given more time to perpetuate their crimes.
The United Arab Emirates, they drafted this ceasefire resolution, and the UAE deputy ambassador, he said that, quote, the council grows isolated, it appears untethered from its own founding document. Russia chimed in saying that basically the U.S. veto, in the words of the representative from Russia, could lead to condemning thousands, if not tens of thousands of civilians to getting killed in the Middle East and said, quote, history will assess what Washington has done. And now listen to Human Rights Watch and Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. They went on to say, MSF, that the U.S. stands alone in casting its vote against humanity. Human Rights Watch saying the U.S. risks complicity with war crimes. As this diplomatic initiative failed in the UN Security Council, the fighting continued. Again, you had at least 71 people killed, according to the health ministry in Gaza, and some 160 wounded over the past 24 hours. Back to you guys.
Ivan Watson for us there. Ivan, thanks so much. Still ahead, the U.S. economy notched up another solid month of job growth. It comes as
Shut up. I'm going to be adding some stuff on this one here. Because what we're indicating is Russia siding with the Human Rights Watch concerning about human rights violations. Russia? That did their invasion on Ukraine about a couple of years ago, tearing them apart left and right still. And causing a lot of things that would make the Human Rights Watch raise their eyebrows or even admire looking at them. This is crazy. I don't know. Is the United Nations actually doing some good anymore? Seriously, is the United Nations actually doing some good anymore? Because if we can't get our act together at this point over here, we just might as well just kill ourselves. Each nation out for itself. We had that going on before we did the League of Nations back in the early 1900s. And that broke down when we had the World War II. So we had to recreate it with the United Nations. So now I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. Do we need to recreate it all over again? Stronger values? Stronger wording in their mission statements? Getting back to Vietnam. We failed to learn the lessons of this one. Guerrilla warfare. It sounds like I am pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel in it. They would probably go back as far as the ancient texts concerning about who owned the land. It was being fought for left and right on this. And it still is. To this date. Palestinians wanted their own right to live. I can understand that. And it was created by the United Nations. Turned out to be recreated into Israel. And we still have the jungle war continuing. The Jewish nation still wants to live. I understand. I do. And unfortunately, there's no land out there that's going to be supporting Israel or Israelis having a land of their own. They're stuck living with Palestine. Either they do the two-state or they're going to destroy each other, and we're going to have the world destroy itself over this. It's my own viewpoint on it. Could we have carved out a portion of the United States? Seriously, could we have carved out a portion back then? We wouldn't think of it. There was no way in hell we were going to be doing that. So a case was made back in 1947. And they were already under British rule during that time. Right after the war. In fact, even during the war, if I'm not mistaken. But they never had their own self-determination. It's no wonder each generation produces something similar to Hamas. They don't get it. They don't get it. And this is what scares the hell out of people left and right. We're recreating our own monsters without even realizing it. I'm still waiting for the story concerning about the abortion situation to happen. I'm still waiting for it. It's almost coming up on 4.
The state Supreme Court is now blocking an emergency abortion for Kate Cox in a decision handed down late Friday. Cox is 20 weeks pregnant and she's carrying a fetus that is not expected to live more than a few days after birth, and it could threaten her future fertility. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton asked the court to intervene after a state judge ruled to allow her to have an abortion earlier in the week. Paxton said the mother did not qualify for medical exception status.
President Biden is calling.
So basically, she's screwed. State of Texas finally screwed her over. This is freaking nuts.